Hi folks, Steve the Hurricane here, and today we're going to go over one of our Hurricane Marketing Bootcamp topics, and that topic is volunteering. I love volunteering. Every single time I see one of those commercials where they're talking about the dogs or the cats looking for home, or St. Jude's Children's Hospital and the poor kids that have leukemia and cancer, or I see the commercial for the children in Africa, it always hits home and it always resonates with me about what I can do to help other people. And when I was working at Care Choice, I got involved with an organization called the Society on Aging of New Jersey, and it was very difficult at first to figure out how to leverage volunteering for that organization and working for my company at the same time, because there was a certain time requirement that was placed upon me in my responsibilities. Now, if you read the blog below, you'll see the different steps that I developed over the years to be able to do both at the same time. And I want to cover some of those steps with you right now. Now, the first thing about volunteering is you want to choose something that you're very passionate about. Alright? This could be something like seniors, animals, children, anything that hits home with you, that resonates with you. For me, it made sense to work with seniors because I was working with seniors. I love taking care of the elderly and helping other people out. And the response I got from the children, the adult children, was just overwhelming, so it made sense to do work in that industry. A great example is I could think of is my friend Danielle. Her grandmother passed away having Alzheimer's disease, so she did a lot of work for the Alzheimer's Association, as a result raising tens of thousands of dollars for them to go into research and development to help find a cure for that disease. And she's very passionate about it because it was close to home. So always choose something that's very passionate about. It also adds human interest, and it makes it interesting when you're talking to your referral sources about it. The next thing is the hardest part, is learn to wear two hats. What does this mean? This means that you're representing both the company that pays the bills, that pays you, and you're also representing the organization that you're volunteering for in whatever your cause is. When I would go places at networking functions, at different events and meetings that I would attend over the years, I always said I am Steve Weiss, the Vice President of Care Choice, and Steve Weiss, the President of the Society on Aging of New Jersey. Those were the two hats that I wore. People came up to me at the end of every meeting and asked me about one or the other, and I represented both equally. The next thing is, when you work for an organization, or volunteer for an organization rather, you know those organizations need funds. So you want to be able to go out and get sponsors. Now, who do you want to ask for sponsors? Well, if you're on company time and you are looking for professional referrals from a referral source, then the people you want to ask are your referral sources. You want to ask the people who work there. When you're in there, you're talking about what you do with your free time. You're talking about the volunteer organization. You're talking about all the great things about this club and this organization and all that you do. Ask them for sponsorship. It creates a need. It shows that you're a good person and you're trying to do good, and people like to support that. It also will make them think about you for another reason, so when the time comes for a referral, you're already on their mind. It's like, oh, I just gave $20 to Steve for his organization on saving the elderly, or whatever. So that's a great thing to do, is ask them for sponsorships. All right? The next thing you want to talk about is promoting the event. I'll go back to the Alzheimer's Association with this one. In 2006, we had our own team for the Alzheimer's Walk. Now, the Alzheimer's Association does two things with the money that they get. They do clinical research on trying to find a cure for Alzheimer's, and then they also give money to families that are less fortunate, that can't afford to get help and support for those who have Alzheimer's disease, and so that's where the funds would go to. They only do one annual fundraiser, and it's called the Alzheimer's Walk. So every single year, they get a bunch of teams together. The teams would go to a different location all throughout the country, and they would walk for a 5K, which is like 3.1 miles, and they would get sponsors that would pay for them to do that walk. We ended up raising like $3,500 for the team that year. Now, when I was out and about everywhere I went, I talked about the Alzheimer's Walk, the Alzheimer's Walk, the Alzheimer's Walk, the Alzheimer's Walk. Are you going? Are you going? Are you going? Are you going? Well, I ended up convincing about a dozen of the referral sources, or not the referral sources, but the actual contacts in those referral sources, the social workers and the people who were referring me business. I convinced them to come to that walk. This way I got a chance to meet their spouse, I got to meet their children. I got to meet other people who were influencers in their life. They didn't just view me as somebody coming in and asking for business. They viewed me as a person. They got a chance to meet my spouse and all of my following and my friends and the other people in my organization. And I started to build a real relationship with this person so that when they went back to work on Monday and they had a chance for a referral, who do you think they referred? They referred me because I'm the person who just made a new friendship with them, a new connection with them outside of work. So you always want to invite your referral sources to the events. So promote those events. And then the last thing with the volunteering is you want to accept a leadership role. Okay? When I was with the Society on Aging of New Jersey, I started out as a member, then I got involved with increasing membership, and then in 2010 I had the opportunity to become the president. In 2010 and 2011, I went all over the state of New Jersey, representing Sanj and representing CareChoice. When I would walk into places that wouldn't allow Steve Weiss, the vice president of CareChoice, in, I would go in as Steve Weiss, the president of the Society on Aging of New Jersey. I'd meet with the top people, like the administrator, the executive director, or the marketing representative. I'd sit down, I'd talk about my cause, my organization, the Society on Aging, go over everything that the Society on Aging does, what we can do for the businesses that are our sponsors, and then what it costs to be a sponsor, which happened to be $500. So by the time I spent a good half an hour, 45 minutes talking about the society, then they would either give me a check or get a check request going, and then they would ask me at the end, well, Steve, this is great about the society, but what do you do for a living? Oh, my company CareChoice? Let me tell you all about it. We've been here for an hour. Let me set up a time to come back. I'll bring in lunch. I'll tell you and all your staff. Can we set that up right now? Boom. Now I have a lunch and learn. Now I have a reason to come back, and I'm going to talk about my company. So again, Steve, the president for the Society on Aging of New Jersey, could go into places where Steve, the vice president of CareChoice, could not go into. That's how I was able to get into all these different accounts, these hospitals, these subacute rehabs, assisted livings, and the like, to get business because I went in under my different hat. Now, the best part about volunteering and leveraging everything for business is you do good. You're doing a good cause. When I was the president of the Society on Aging, I spoke to over 8,000 seniors through the course of 80 different events over that 2-year time, all the way up from Bergen County to as far south as Cape May County in New Jersey. I loved it. We talked about all the different options of services that are available to them, where to go if there's a crisis. If one of their friends are in the hospital and they need help now, who should they call? Where can they get the resources from? We educated those people. At the end of every single event that I ran, there was at least 4 or 5 old ladies or old men who came up to me and said, "Young man, thank you so much for this information." And I felt like a great person because I knew I helped people out. I knew I put people in touch with good professionals who could help them in their time of need. That was my cause. That was what I wanted to do. And at the same time, my company, CareChoice, rose to the top and was on the forefront of every person's mind because I wore the 2 hats and I leveraged the time together. So, again, at Hurricane Marketing Bootcamp, we're going to go over this in greater detail and teach people how to do this and how they can get it, business from it, and get into those places that are currently closed to them. So if you haven't registered for that, I suggest you do. Also, we love comments. We love when people participate. So if you have any comments or an example of this or anything you want to add to the discussion, comment below. Share with us. This is how we all grow together as professionals. So have a wonderful day. God bless. And I'll see you next week when we talk about our new topic. Take care.